Park Han-sol sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria, just like he did every day. His food tray had simple things on it, some rice, vegetables, and a piece of meat that the station kitchen tried to make taste like home. It did not taste like home. Nothing on Omega 7 tasted like home. 2 years. He had been on this floating metal box in space for 2 years now. His job was simple. He fixed things. Air filters, water pipes, electrical systems. When something broke, Han Sol made it work again. The station needed him, but the station did not want him around when the work was done. He looked around the cafeteria. Hundreds of aliens sat at tables, eating and talking. There were tall ones with blue skin, short ones with 4 arms, creatures with fur, scales, and feathers. The galaxy was full of strange and wonderful life. And all of them stayed far away from Han Sol. It was not personal. He understood that. Humans had a reputation. When Earth first made contact with the galactic community, the aliens were curious. They sent scientists to study the new species. Those scientists came back with reports that spread across 1,000 worlds. The reports said that humans came from a death world, a planet so dangerous that everything on it was trying to kill everything else. Earth had giant predators with sharp teeth. It had tiny invisible creatures that could kill millions. It had weather that could freeze you solid or burn you alive. It had poison plants, venomous animals, and water that could pull you under and drown you. And humans? Humans had survived all of it. They had conquered their death world. They had hunted the predators, cured the diseases, and built cities in the most dangerous places. The reports said that humans were the ultimate survivors, patient, strong, and impossible to kill. The galaxy decided that humans were terrifying. Han Sol did not feel terrifying. He felt lonely. He missed his mother's cooking. He missed his small apartment in Busan. He missed his cat, a fat orange thing named Nabi, who liked to sleep on his keyboard. But the pay on Omega 7 was good, and his mother needed the money for her medical bills. So Han Sol stayed. He worked. He ate alone. He went to sleep in his small room. And he did it all again the next day. Today felt different, though. Today, someone was walking toward his table. Han Sol looked up. A Velari woman was coming closer. He recognized her species. The Velari were tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to glow softly. They had large eyes that were completely black, like looking into deep space. Most Velari worked in administration or cultural affairs. They were known for being peaceful, gentle, and very easy to scare. This one did not look scared. She looked determined. She stopped at his table. Han Sol waited for her to say something, but she just stood there for a moment, studying him. He noticed that her hands were shaking slightly. So she was scared. She was just very good at hiding it. "Park Han Sol?" she asked. Her voice was soft and musical, like wind chimes. "Yes," he said. "Can I help you?" "My name is Lyra. I work in the Cultural Liaison Department on Level 7. Han Sol nodded. He had fixed the air filtration system on Level 7 last week. There had been a strange smell coming from the vents. It turned out that some kind of alien moss had started growing in the ducts. He had cleaned it out and replaced the filters. It was not exciting work, but it was necessary work. "I wanted to thank you," Lyra said, "for fixing the air system. The smell was making everyone sick. Our species is very sensitive to bad air. You helped us very much." Han Sol blinked. No one had ever thanked him before. Usually people just sent work orders to his tablet and avoided him in the hallways. "It was just my job," he said. "It was more than that." Lyra sat down across from him. Han Sol noticed several aliens at nearby tables turning to stare. A Velari, sitting with a human. This was strange. This was news. "You came quickly when we called. Other workers take days to respond to our requests. Some never come at all. But you came the same day. And you were kind." Han Sol remembered. Some of the Velari workers had stayed in the room while he fixed the vents. They had watched him with wide, frightened eyes. He had tried to make them feel comfortable. He had smiled and explained what he was doing. He had worked slowly so he would not make sudden movements that might scare them. "I was just doing my job," he said again. Lyra smiled. It was a strange expression on her alien face, but Han Sol understood it. "You are very humble for a Death World species." Han Sol almost laughed. I am not sure I count as a Death World species. I once cried because a bee flew too close to my face. Lyra tilted her head. She did not understand the reference, but she seemed to find his honesty interesting. I would like to invite you to my home, she said, for dinner, a traditional Valari meal, to thank you properly. Hansol's brain stopped working for a moment. Dinner? At her home? No alien had ever invited him anywhere. Most aliens crossed to the other side of the hallway when they saw him coming. And now this woman wanted him to come to her house and eat with her? Are you sure? He asked. Very sure. Lyra's dark eyes were steady. My family would be honored to host a human. We have heard many stories about your kind. I think it is time we learned which stories are true and which are just fear-talking. Hansel thought about it. He thought about his empty room. He thought about another night of eating alone and watching old shows on his tablet. He thought about his mother telling him to make friends, to experience new things, to live his life instead of just surviving it. Okay, he said, I would like that. Thank you. Lyra's smile grew wider. Wonderful. I will send the address to your tablet. Come tomorrow evening at the 7th hour, and please do not worry about bringing anything. She stood and walked away. Hansel watched her go. He noticed that her steps were quick, like she was trying to escape before she lost her courage. That night Hansel could not sleep. He was nervous and excited and confused. He had so many questions. Why did Lyra invite him? What would her family think? What should he wear? Should he bring a gift anyway? In the end, he decided to bring a bottle of wine. Earth wine from a small vineyard in France that his station credits could barely afford. It was what his mother would have done. Never go to someone's home empty-handed, she always said. Hansel did not know it yet. But that bottle of wine was about to change his life forever. The next evening, Hansel stood in front of a door in the residential district of Omega 7. He checked the address on his tablet 3 times. This was the right place, Lyra's home. He looked down at himself. He had changed his clothes 5 times before leaving his room. He finally chose simple dark pants and a clean white shirt. Nothing fancy, nothing scary. He wanted to look normal, friendly, not like a death world predator who could kill everyone in the room. The bottle of wine felt heavy in his hands. He hoped they would like it. He hoped they could drink it. Some alien species could not process earth alcohol. He probably should have checked that before buying it. Too late now. Hansel took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast. This was silly. It was just dinner. He had eaten dinner thousands of times in his life. There was nothing to be nervous about. He pressed the button next to the door. The door slid open, and Hansel's brain completely shut down. The room beyond was large and beautiful, decorated in soft silvers and blues. Floating lights drifted near the ceiling like gentle stars. Strange plants with glowing leaves sat in corners. It looked like something from a dream. But Hansel did not notice any of that. He only noticed the people. The room was full of Valari women. At least 7 of them, maybe more. They stood in small groups, holding drinks and talking. Some sat on low couches. Others stood near a table covered with food, and every single one of them had turned to look at him. The room went completely silent. Hansel stood frozen in the doorway. His legs would not move. His mouth would not work. He felt like a deer caught in the lights of a vehicle, except he was the dangerous one, and everyone else was the deer. One of the Valari women dropped her glass. It hit the floor with a sharp sound that seemed very loud in the silence. No one moved to pick it up. No one moved at all. They all just stared at him with those large dark eyes. Hansel's first thought was that he had made a terrible mistake. This was clearly a private gathering, a family event, women only. He was not supposed to be here. Lyra had made an error with the time, or he had read the address wrong, or something had gone very badly wrong. I am so sorry, he said, his voice cracking. I think I have the wrong place. I will go. Please excuse me. He started to step backward, but a hand caught his arm. He looked down. Lyra had appeared beside him. Her silver fingers were wrapped gently around his wrist, and she was smiling, though he could see nervousness in her eyes. Please stay, she said. You have the right place. This is my family. They are just surprised. Hansel looked at the room full of frozen alien women. Surprised? Most of them have never seen a human before, not in person. Lyra gently pulled him inside. The door closed behind him. They have only heard stories. I think they expected you to be different. Different how? Bigger, meaner, covered in scars and weapons. Lyra laughed softly. You are holding a bottle of wine and wearing a nice shirt. I think you have confused them. Hansel looked at the wine in his hands. He had almost forgotten about it. I brought this for your family. I hope that is okay. I did not know what else to bring. My mother always said you should not visit someone's home without a gift. Is wine okay? Can your species drink wine? I should have asked. I am sorry. I can take it back if... Hansel, Lyra squeezed his arm gently. You are rambling. I do that when I am nervous. I can tell. She took the bottle from his hands and looked at it with curiosity. This is very thoughtful. Thank you. We can drink wine. In fact, we enjoy it very much. Earth wine is considered very special in the galaxy. This is a wonderful gift. She turned to the room. The other Valari women were still staring, but some of them had started to breathe again. A few had moved closer, their fear slowly being replaced by curiosity. Everyone, Lyra said, this is Park Hansol. He is an engineer on the station. He fixed our air system last week. He is my guest tonight, and I expect you all to be welcoming. An older Valari woman stepped forward. She was shorter than the others, and her silver skin had a slightly golden tint that suggested age. She moved slowly, with the careful grace of someone who had seen many years. Her eyes studied Hansol with sharp intelligence. So, she said, this is a human. Yes, Elder Vona, Lyra said. Grandmother, this is Hansol. Hansol bowed slightly, the way his mother had taught him to greet elders. It is an honor to meet you. Elder Vona's eyes widened slightly. He bows, like we do. I did not expect that. Humans have many customs similar to ours, Lyra said. That is one of the reasons I invited him. I wanted our family to see that humans are not the monsters the stories describe. A younger Valari woman moved closer. She had the same features as Lyra, but seemed more energetic, almost bouncing on her feet. I am Nira, she said, Lyra's sister. Is it true that humans cannot be killed? Hansol blinked. What? No. We can definitely be killed. We are just hard to kill. There is a difference. But you heal from wounds that would kill other species, Nira pressed. You can regrow bone. You can survive the loss of organs. You can... Nira. Lyra gave her sister a warning look. Let the man breathe. He just arrived. Two identical Valari women appeared on either side of Hansol. They were so similar that he could not tell them apart. They looked at him the way scientists look at a new discovery, with notebooks in their hands. I am Tira, said one. I am Sela, said the other. We are researchers, they said together. We study alien species. We have many questions. Questions can wait until after dinner, Elder Vona said firmly. The human is a guest. We will feed him first. Then you can ask your questions. Hansol felt a hand touch his elbow. He turned to see a shy-looking Valari woman with softer features than the others. She did not speak. She just looked at him with wide eyes, then quickly looked away. That is Mika, Lyra whispered, a family friend. She is very shy. Do not worry if she does not talk much. Hansol nodded. He was still trying to process everything. The room, the people, the situation. He had come expecting a simple dinner with Lyra and maybe one or two family members. Instead, he had walked into what felt like a zoo exhibit, except he was the animal on display. But as he looked around at the curious faces, he realized something. These women were scared of him. They had heard terrible stories about humans. They expected a monster. And instead, they got a nervous engineer holding a bottle of wine. Maybe, Hansol thought, this dinner would not be so bad after all. He was wrong. It was going to be much stranger than he could possibly imagine. The dining table was long and low, with cushions on the floor instead of chairs. Hansol sat in the center, which he quickly realized was the position of honor. It was also the position where everyone could stare at him most easily. Lyra sat on his right. Elder Vona sat at the head of the table. The others arranged themselves around him, their large dark eyes watching his every movement. Hansel felt like he was performing on a stage, except he did not know his lines. The food was beautiful, strange but beautiful. There were dishes in colors he had never seen before. Purple vegetables that seemed to glow, blue meat that smelled like flowers, orange soup that moved slightly in its bowl, as if it was still alive. Hansel hoped it was not still alive. "Please," Elder Vona said, "eat. You are our guest." Hansel picked up his eating utensil. It was a thin metal stick, similar to chopsticks but with a small scoop at the end. He held it carefully, trying to copy how the others held theirs. "His hands," Nira whispered to her sister. "Look at how steady they are." "No shaking at all," Lyra agreed quietly. "Most species tremble when they are nervous. He is completely still." Hansel heard them. He did not know what to say. His hands were steady because he worked with tools all day. It was not special. But to them, it was the mark of a predator. Hunters needed steady hands to catch their prey. He took a bite of the purple vegetable. It tasted sweet and crunchy, like a mix between an apple and a carrot. He chewed slowly, aware that everyone was watching. "Those teeth," Elder Vona murmured. "Look at them." Hansel stopped chewing. "Is something wrong?" "No, no, please continue." The old woman leaned closer, studying his mouth. "I have just never seen human teeth before. They are very sharp, in the front. These?" Hansel touched his front teeth. "They are just normal teeth. They are designed for cutting meat," Tira said, scribbling in her notebook. "Humans are omnivores. They can eat both plants and animals. Their front teeth cut and tear, while their back teeth grind. Like predators," Sella added, also writing. "We are not really predators," Hansel said. "We just adapted to eat many things. Because Earth is difficult. Sometimes there was only meat, sometimes there was only plants. We learned to eat whatever was available." The twins exchanged meaningful looks. To them, this was exactly what a predator would say. Adaptable, flexible, able to survive on anything. Terrifying. Hansel took another bite. The food was actually very good. He tried the blue meat, which tasted like chicken mixed with honey. He tried the orange soup, which was thankfully not alive and tasted like spicy tomato. He ate quietly, enjoying the meal. The Valari women watched him eat like he was performing magic. "He does not need to rest between bites," Nira observed. "He just keeps eating." "Humans have very efficient digestive systems," Tira explained. "They can eat large amounts quickly when food is available, then survive long periods without eating at all." "How long can you go without food?" Nira asked Hansel directly. Hansel thought about it. "I do not know. A few weeks maybe? I have never tried. That seems unpleasant." The table went silent. A few weeks. Most Valari would be seriously ill after 3 days without food. The humans said it so casually, like it was nothing special. "What about water?" Sela asked. 3 days, maybe 4. "Water is more important than food." Hansel shrugged. "But really, you should not go without either. It is very bad for your health." "Bad for your health," Elder Vona repeated slowly. "The human considers starvation to be merely bad for health. Not deadly, just, inconvenient." Hansel realized he had said something strange again. On Earth, everyone knew these basic survival facts. Every child learned them in school. But to the Valari, it was proof that humans were nearly impossible to kill. Lyra changed the subject. "Tell us about your work, Hansel. What do you do on the station?" "I fix things," Hansel said, grateful for an easier topic. "Air systems, water pipes, electrical problems. When something breaks, I make it work again." "Do you enjoy it?" "Yes, I like working with my hands. I like solving problems. And I like knowing that my work helps people." He smiled. "Even if those people are scared of me." A small laugh went around the table. Some of the tension faded. The Valari women began to relax slightly. This human was not what they expected. He was quiet and humble. He smiled easily. He seemed genuinely happy to be there. "Can I ask you something personal?" Nira said. "Nira," Lyra warned. "It is okay," Hansel said. "Ask. Have you ever been hurt? Badly hurt?" Hansel thought about it. "Yes, when I was young I fell off my bicycle and broke my arm. It hurt very much. I cried a lot." The table went silent again. You broke your arm, Elder Vona said slowly. The bone inside your arm. It broke. Yes, I fell on it wrong. The bone cracked. And then what happened? I went to the hospital. They put a cast on it. My arm was stuck in the cast for about 6 weeks. Then it healed and I was fine. The Valari women stared at him in horror. The bone healed? Mika spoke for the first time. Her voice was barely a whisper. Yes, bones heal. It takes time, but they grow back together. Hansol looked at their shocked faces. Do Valari bones not heal? They heal eventually, Lyra said, but it takes many months, sometimes years, and the bone is never as strong as before. She looked at him with new eyes. Your bones heal in 6 weeks and become just as strong? Sometimes stronger, actually. The healed part can be tougher than the original bone. Tira and Sella were writing frantically in their notebooks. The others just stared. Hansol had confirmed one of the most terrifying rumors about humans. They were not just hard to kill. They could heal from wounds that would permanently disable other species. You said you cried, Nira said quietly, when you broke your arm. Yes, it hurt very much. So humans do feel pain. Of course we feel pain. Hansol was confused. Why would you think we do not feel pain? The stories say humans can ignore pain, that they keep fighting even with terrible wounds, that nothing can stop them. Hansol was quiet for a moment. He thought about his grandfather, who had worked in a factory until he was 70 with a bad back. He thought about his mother, who had raised him alone while working 2 jobs. He thought about all the humans he knew who pushed through pain every day because they had no other choice. We feel pain, he said finally. We just do not let it stop us. Because on Earth, if you stopped every time something hurt, you would never survive. Pain is a warning, but sometimes you have to ignore the warning and keep going. The room was very quiet. Elder Vona set down her eating utensil. She looked at Hansol with something new in her eyes. It was not fear, it was not curiosity, it was respect. The galaxy tells stories about humans, she said. They say you are monsters, predators, killers. But I think the galaxy misunderstands you. What do you mean? Hansol asked. You are not monsters because you do not feel. You are remarkable because you feel everything and keep going anyway. The old woman smiled. That is not terrifying, young man. That is beautiful. Hansol did not know what to say. No one had ever called humans beautiful before. Dangerous, yes. Scary, certainly. But beautiful. He looked around the table at the silver faces watching him. For the first time since arriving on Omega-7, he did not feel like a monster. He felt like a guest, maybe even like a friend. Thank you, he said softly. That means a lot. The rest of dinner passed more easily. The fear had not disappeared completely, but it had been joined by something else. Curiosity, interest, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of understanding. After dinner, everyone moved to a comfortable sitting area. The floating lights had dimmed to a soft glow. Someone had opened the bottle of earth wine, and small glasses were being passed around. Hansol noticed that the Valari women sipped very carefully, like the wine was something precious. This is wonderful, Lyra said, holding her glass up to the light. I have never tasted anything like it. It comes from a place called France, Hansol said. They have been making wine there for thousands of years. Thousands of years? Nira nearly choked on her drink. Your species has been making this for thousands of years. Wine is one of our oldest drinks. Humans have been making it for at least 8,000 years, maybe longer. The room went quiet. 8,000 years. The Valari had only discovered space travel 3,000 years ago. Humans had been perfecting the art of turning fruit into alcohol for longer than Valari civilization had existed. I have questions, Tira announced. She had her notebook open on her lap. Her twin sister Sayla sat beside her, equally prepared. Go ahead, Hansol said. He was feeling more relaxed now. The wine was helping. The company was helping more. Is it true that humans drink poison for fun? Hansol blinked. Poison? Alcohol, caffeine, capsaicin. These are all toxic substances, but humans consume them regularly, for pleasure. Hansol looked at the wine glass in his hand. I never thought of it as poison. Alcohol is, well, yes, it is technically toxic, but in small amounts it makes us feel good, relaxed, happy. And caffeine? Coffee? I cannot function in the morning without coffee. It wakes us up, makes us alert. Caffeine is a natural insecticide, Sella said. Plants evolved it to kill insects that tried to eat them. Humans drink it to wake up in the morning. When you say it like that, it does sound strange. Hansel laughed. But yes, we drink it every day. Most humans cannot imagine life without coffee or tea. Nira leaned forward eagerly. What about capsaicin, the burning chemical in spicy food? We love spicy food. The burning feeling is enjoyable, in a strange way. Enjoyable, Tira wrote furiously. Humans find the sensation of chemical burning enjoyable. They seek it out. They compete to eat the spiciest foods. There are contests, Hansel admitted. People eat very hot peppers to see who can handle the most pain. The Velari women exchanged horrified looks. Humans did not just tolerate pain. They turned it into entertainment. They competed to see who could suffer more. This was beyond anything the stories had described. I have another question, Nira said, about hunting. Is it true that humans used to chase animals until they died? Hansel nodded slowly. Persistence hunting. Yes. Long ago, before we had better tools, humans would chase animals for hours, sometimes entire days. The animal would run faster, but it would eventually get tired. Humans do not get tired the same way. We can keep going and going. We sweat to cool down so we do not overheat. Eventually, the animal would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would catch it. The room was completely silent. You chased animals, Elder Vona said slowly, until they died of exhaustion. Until they were too tired to run anymore. Then we would kill them quickly. It was more merciful than letting them suffer. More merciful, the old woman repeated. She looked at the other women. Did you hear that? The humans consider running an animal to death to be the merciful option. Hansel shifted uncomfortably. He had never thought about persistence hunting from an outside perspective. To humans, it was ancient history, a clever survival strategy from before spears and bows made hunting easier. But to the Velari, who were prey species by nature, it was the most terrifying thing imaginable. An enemy that never stopped, that never got tired. That would follow you to the ends of the world until you simply could not run anymore. We do not hunt like that anymore, he said quickly. We have not done that for thousands of years. Now we buy our food from stores. But you still could, Tira said. If you needed to, the ability is still there. Hansel could not deny it. Humans still ran marathons for fun. They still competed in ultra-distance races that lasted days. The ancient hunting instinct had been turned into sport, but the capability remained. Can humans truly survive without sleep? Sela asked, changing the subject. Not forever, but we can go several days without sleeping if we must. It is not good for us. We get slow and confused. We make mistakes, but we can do it. The record is 11 days, Tira read from her notebook. A human male stayed awake for 11 days as an experiment. He experienced hallucinations and memory problems, but he survived. He recovered fully after sleeping. That sounds horrible, Hansel said. Why would anyone do that? That is our question for you. Hansel shook his head. Some humans are very strange. Most of us like sleeping very much. Mika, who had been silent all evening, suddenly spoke up. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. What about the dogs? Everyone turned to look at her. She blushed silver and looked down at her hands. The dogs? Hansel asked gently. I read that humans keep predators as pets. Animals called dogs. That were once wolves. Mika's voice trembled slightly. Is that true? Yes, that is true. We domesticated wolves thousands of years ago. We turned them into dogs. They live with us. They are our friends. But wolves are predators. They hunt. They kill. They did. But we changed them. We bred them to be loyal and friendly. Now they love humans. They protect us. They play with us. They sleep in our beds. Hansel smiled at the memory of his cat. We do the same with other animals too. Cats, horses, even birds. Mika's eyes were huge. You sleep beside predators, in your beds. where you are vulnerable. My family had a dog when I was young. Her name was Bomi. She was very sweet. She would curl up at my feet every night. I never felt safer than when she was there. The Valari women looked at each other. This was perhaps the most shocking thing they had heard all night. Not the poison drinking, not the persistence hunting, not the pain tolerance, but this. Humans had taken wild predators, creatures that should have been their enemies, and turned them into family. How? Elder Vona asked. How did you do it? Time and patience, Hansol said. We found the wolves that were least afraid of us. We fed them. We earned their trust. Over many generations, they became dogs. It took thousands of years, but we did it. You are patient, the old woman said. Very patient. We had to be. Earth did not give us many advantages. We were not the fastest or the strongest. We did not have sharp claws or thick armor. All we had was patience, endurance, and the ability to work together. So we used those things. We waited. We adapted. We turned enemies into allies. And now dogs would die to protect you, Lyra said softly. Yes, and we would die to protect them. It works both ways. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking about what Hansol had said. Humans were not just survivors. They were transformers. They took a hostile world and made it their home. They took enemies and made them friends. They took pain and made it pleasure. They took death and made it just another obstacle to overcome. I think, Elder Vona said finally, that the galaxy has been wrong about humans for a very long time. What do you mean? Hansol asked. We were taught to fear your strength, your endurance, your ability to survive anything. The old woman smiled. But your true power is not in what you can destroy. It is in what you can create, in what you can change, in who you can love. Hansol felt his throat tighten. He had spent 2 years on this station being feared, avoided, treated like a monster. And now this old alien woman, from a species that had every reason to fear him, was looking at him like he was something wonderful. Thank you, he said. His voice was thick with emotion. That is the kindest thing anyone has said to me in a very long time. Lyra reached over and touched his hand gently. You deserve kindness, Hansol. Everyone does. For the first time since leaving Earth, Hansol did not feel alone. Lyra stood and touched Hansol's shoulder. Would you like to see the balcony? The view of the stars is beautiful from here. Hansol understood. She wanted to talk privately. He nodded and followed her through a door at the back of the room. Behind them, he could hear Nira immediately start asking her grandmother more questions about humans. The twins were comparing notes. Mika was still sitting quietly, but she looked less frightened than before. The balcony was not really a balcony. It was a small room with a giant window that looked out into space. The stars spread out before them like diamonds scattered on black cloth. Hansol could see the curve of a distant planet, purple and green, slowly spinning in the darkness. Beautiful, he said. Yes. Lyra stood beside him. Her silver skin glowed softly in the starlight. I come here when I need to think, when the station feels too small and too loud. I understand. I do the same thing in my room. I have a small window. Not as nice as this one, but it helps. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Hansol was aware that something had changed during the evening. He had arrived as a stranger, a curiosity, maybe even a threat. Now he felt like something else. Not quite a friend, but not an outsider either. I need to tell you something, Lyra said, about why I really invited you here tonight. Hansol turned to look at her. I thought you wanted to thank me for fixing the air system. I did, but that was not the only reason. Lyra took a deep breath. Her hands were clasped tightly in front of her. I need you to understand something about my species, Hansol, about who we are and where we come from. Okay, the Velari are not warriors. We are not hunters. We are not strong or fast or dangerous. She smiled sadly. We are prey. That is what we evolved to be. On our homeworld, we were hunted by larger creatures. We survived by hiding, by running, by staying together in groups. Fear is part of our nature. It is built into our bones. Hansol listened quietly. He had suspected something like this. The way the Velari moved, always watchful, always ready to flee, the way they startled at sudden sounds, the way they avoided eye contact with larger species. It all made sense now. For thousands of years, we were protected by our planet, Lyra continued. But then we discovered space travel. We went out into the galaxy, thinking we would find wonders. Instead, we found that the universe was just as dangerous as our homeworld. More dangerous even. What happened? We were exploited, bullied, conquered. Lyra's voice was bitter. Stronger species saw us as easy targets. They took our resources. They forced us to work for them. They treated us like servants because we were too weak to fight back. We learned to be quiet, to be useful, to not make trouble, because trouble meant death. Hansel felt anger rising in his chest, not at Lyra, but at the galaxy that had treated her people this way. That is wrong. It is the way of things. The strong take from the weak. That is the rule of the universe. Lyra turned to face him. But then humans came. What do you mean? When your species first made contact with the galaxy, everyone was terrified. The stories about Earth spread everywhere. A death world. Predators that could not be stopped. A species that had conquered their own planet through sheer stubborn will. Everyone expected humans to be the worst conquerors of all. But we were not? No, you were not. Lyra's eyes were bright with something Hansel could not identify. Human traders came to our stations. Human workers joined our communities. Human ships passed through our space, and they were kind, fair, honest. They paid proper prices for goods. They helped when they did not have to. They protected Valari workers from bullies without being asked. Hansel thought about his own behavior on the station. He had never considered it special. He just treated people the way his mother had taught him, with respect, with fairness, with basic human decency. My people were confused, Lyra said. The most dangerous species in the galaxy was also the most gentle. It did not make sense. Some thought it was a trick. Some thought humans were waiting for the right moment to reveal their true nature. But years passed, and the trick never came. Humans just kept being good. We are not all good, Hansel said quietly. Humans have done terrible things. To each other. To other species. We have a dark history. So does every species. But humans are the only ones who try to be better. Lyra stepped closer to him. Do you know what I see when I look at you, Hansel? I see the most terrifying creature in the galaxy holding a bottle of wine because he did not want to arrive at a stranger's home empty-handed. I see a predator who fixed our air system and smiled at us because he did not want us to be afraid. I see a death world species who ate dinner with 7 alien women and worried about whether his eating was too loud. Hansel did not know what to say. His throat felt tight. That is why I invited you tonight, Lyra said. Not just to thank you, but to show my family the truth about humans. To let them see with their own eyes that the most dangerous species in the galaxy can also be the most kind. That strength does not have to mean cruelty. That power does not have to mean domination. You wanted them to not be afraid anymore. Yes, the galaxy has taught my people to fear everything stronger than us. We have lived in fear for so long that we forgot there was another way to live. But tonight my grandmother laughed with a human. My sister asked you questions without trembling. Even Mika spoke, and she never speaks to strangers. Lyra smiled. You gave them something precious tonight, Hansel. You gave them hope. Hansel looked out at the stars. He thought about his mother, who had worked so hard to raise him right. He thought about his father, who had died when Hansel was young, but whose lessons still guided him. He thought about all the people back on Earth who had shaped him into the person he was. I did not do anything special, he said. I was just myself. That is exactly the point. Lyra put her hand on his arm. Being yourself is enough. Your true self, without pretense or aggression or the need to dominate. Just a man who wants to fix things and eat good food and not be alone. Hansel laughed softly. You make me sound very simple. Simple is good. Simple is honest. Lyra squeezed his arm. The galaxy needs more simple honesty, especially from humans. Because when the most dangerous species in the galaxy chooses to be kind, it gives everyone else permission to be kind too. They stood together in the starlight, looking out at the infinite darkness. Hansel felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Purpose. Like his presence on this station meant something beyond just fixing broken machines. "Thank you," he said finally, "for telling me this, for inviting me, for giving me a chance. Thank you for taking the chance. I know it was not easy for you either." Lyra smiled. "Coming into a room full of strange alien women must have been terrifying for you too." "It was," Hansel admitted. "I almost ran away when the door opened." "But you did not." "No, I did not." He smiled back at her. "I guess humans are stubborn that way. We do not like to give up, even when we are scared." "Especially when you are scared," Lyra corrected. "That is what makes you remarkable. Not that you feel no fear, but that you feel fear and move forward anyway." From inside the house, they heard Nira's voice calling for them. "Something about dessert being ready." Lyra laughed and turned toward the door. "Come," she said. "You have not lived until you have tried Valari sweet cakes. They are very good." Hansel followed her back inside. The other women looked up as they entered, and for the first time, not all of the looks were fearful. Some were curious, some were warm. Elder Vona caught his eye and nodded slightly, a gesture of respect. Hansel nodded back. He was not sure what the future held, but he knew one thing. Tonight had changed him. And maybe, just maybe, it had changed a few other people too. The sweet cakes were excellent. They tasted like honey and flowers and something else Hansel could not identify. He ate 3 of them before he realized everyone was watching him again, but this time they were smiling instead of staring. "I told you he would like them," Nira said proudly. "Humans love sweet things. I read about it." "You read correctly," Hansel said, reaching for a 4th cake. "These are wonderful. What is the secret ingredient?" "It is a flower that only grows on our homeworld," Elder Vona said. "We import it at great expense, but it is worth it for special occasions." "This is a special occasion?" "Any evening where we make a new friend is special." Hansel felt warmth spread through his chest. A new friend. He liked the sound of that. The evening continued pleasantly. The wine was finished. More questions were asked and answered. Tira and Sela had filled half their notebooks with observations about human behavior. Nira had decided that humans were her new favorite subject of study. Even Mika had started to relax, occasionally glancing at Hansel with something like curiosity instead of fear. Then the alarm went off. It was a station-wide alert, a sharp beeping sound that cut through the comfortable atmosphere like a knife. Everyone froze. Hansel's hand went automatically to his pocket, where his work tablet was stored. He pulled it out and checked the message. "What is it?" Lyra asked. Her voice was calm, but Hansel could see the fear returning to her eyes. "A ship has docked at the station," Hansel read. "Kravik trade vessel. Standard security alert." The mood in the room changed instantly. The warmth disappeared. The smiles faded. Every Valari woman in the room went pale, their silver skin turning almost white. "Kravik," Nira whispered. "Not them." "Who are the Kravik?" Hansel asked. Elder Vona's face had become hard and cold. "Bullies, thieves, predators who enjoy causing pain." She stood slowly, her old bones creaking. "They have been harassing Valari families on this station for months. They steal from our shops. They threaten our workers. They know we are too weak to fight back, so they do whatever they want. Why does station security not stop them? The Kravik are careful. They never do anything that leaves evidence. And they have powerful friends in the Trade Council." Lyra's hands were shaking. "We have filed complaints. Nothing happens. We are told to avoid them, to not make trouble." Hansel felt the anger rising again. He knew species like the Kravik. Every planet had them. Every station had them. Creatures who used their strength to hurt those who could not defend themselves. He had dealt with bullies his whole life, on Earth, on other stations. They were all the same. "How many are there?" he asked. "Usually 5 or 6. Sometimes more." Tira checked her own tablet. "The ship manifest shows 7 crew members. All male, all large. Have they ever hurt anyone? Physically?" The women exchanged looks. Mika hugged herself, looking down at the floor. That told Hansel everything he needed to know. "They pushed Mika last month," Nira said quietly. She fell and hurt her arm. They laughed and walked away. Han Sol looked at Mika, the shy woman who barely spoke, who flinched at sudden movements, who had been brave enough to ask about dogs despite her fear. Someone had hurt her. Someone had laughed about it. Something cold settled in Han Sol's chest. It was not anger anymore. It was something older, something that had been bred into humans over millions of years of survival. The instinct to protect. The drive to stand between danger and the people who could not defend themselves. "I will walk you home," he said. The room went silent. "What?" Lyra asked. "When you are ready to leave, I will walk with you. All of you." Han Sol's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "And if anyone bothers you, they will have to go through me first." The women stared at him. He had said it so casually, like he was offering to carry groceries. But they understood what he was really saying. A human, an apex predator from a death world, had just offered to protect them. "Han Sol, you do not have to do this," Lyra said. "The Kravik are dangerous. They will not back down easily." "I know. You could get hurt." "I know." "Then why?" Han Sol looked at her. He looked at all of them. 7 women who had opened their home to him, who had shared their food and their stories and their fears, who had treated him like a person instead of a monster. "Because you were kind to me," he said simply, "and I protect the people who are kind to me. That is what humans do." Elder Vona made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. "That is what humans do," she repeated. "They protect what they love. They stand against danger. They refuse to run, even when running would be safer." "Grandmother," Nira said, "he just met us tonight, and he has already decided we are worth protecting." The old woman looked at Han Sol with shining eyes. "Do you understand now, child? Do you understand why I said humans are beautiful?" Nira looked at Han Sol, really looked at him, not as a curiosity or a research subject, but as a person. She saw a man who was not particularly tall or strong by galactic standards, a man with steady hands and a kind smile, a man who fixed air vents for a living and missed his mother's cooking, and that man had just offered to fight for them, without hesitation, without expectation of reward, simply because it was the right thing to do. "I understand," she whispered. The women began to gather their things. The evening was ending, but not the way anyone had expected. There was nervous energy in the room, fear of what might be waiting outside, but also something else, something that had not been there before. Hope, trust, the knowledge that they were not alone. "Perhaps it is not humans the galaxy should fear," Elder Vona said as she put on her coat. "Perhaps it is those foolish enough to threaten what humans protect." Han Sol helped Mika with her bag. She looked up at him with those large dark eyes. "You really would fight for us?" she asked softly. "Yes." "Even though you just met us?" "Yes." "Why?" Han Sol thought about how to answer. He thought about his mother's voice, teaching him right from wrong. He thought about all the times he had wished someone would stand up for him when he was young and weak and scared. "Because everyone deserves someone who will fight for them," he said. "And if I can be that person for you, then I will be. That is just who I am." Mika smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile all evening. It transformed her face, made her look younger and brighter and less afraid. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Han Sol nodded. Then he turned to face the door. Whatever was waiting outside, he would meet it head-on. Not because he was not afraid. He was terrified. The Kravik were bigger than him, stronger than him, and probably armed. But that did not matter. What mattered was that 7 women were counting on him, and he would rather die than let them down. "Ready?" he asked. The women gathered behind him. "Ready," Lyra said. Han Sol opened the door. The corridor outside Lyra's home was quiet. Too quiet. The floating lights cast long shadows on the metal walls. Han Sol could hear the hum of the station's life support systems, a sound he usually found comforting. Tonight, it felt ominous. He walked in front of the group. Lyra was beside him, and the others followed close behind. Elder Vona moved slowly, supported by Nira. The twins walked together, their notebooks clutched to their chests. Mika stayed close to Lyra, her eyes darting nervously at every shadow. They made it 3 corridors before they found trouble. The Kravik were waiting near a junction where 4 hallways met. There were 5 of them, large and muscular, with rough gray skin and small yellow eyes. They looked like someone had crossed a shark with a gorilla. 2 of them were leaning against the wall. The others stood in the middle of the passage, blocking the way. The group stopped. Han Sol felt the women behind him tense. He could hear their breathing quicken. "Well, well," one of the Kravik said. He was the largest, probably the leader. His voice was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding together. "Little silver fish swimming home after dark. Do you not know these waters are dangerous?" His companions laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Let us pass," Lyra said. Her voice trembled, but she stood her ground. "We do not want any trouble." "You do not want trouble?" The leader took a step forward. "Then maybe you should not be walking through our territory. There is a toll for using this corridor. Pay it, and you can go. We do not have anything to give you. Then we will take something." The Kravik's eyes moved over the group, settling on Mika. "The quiet one has a pretty necklace. That will do for tonight." Mika's hand went to her throat. She was wearing a simple silver chain with a small blue stone. It was probably worth nothing to a Kravik trader, but it clearly meant something to her. Hansel stepped forward. The movement drew every eye. The Kravik leader squinted at him, then his expression changed. Recognition, understanding, and finally fear. "Human," he said. Hansel did not respond. He just stood there, relaxed and calm, his hands at his sides. He met the Kravik's eyes without flinching, without blinking. He let the silence stretch. The other Kravik had stopped laughing. They were looking at each other now, uncertain. The stories about humans were racing through their minds. Death world, apex predator, persistence hunters, impossible to kill. They had heard the legends. They knew what humans were capable of, and one was standing in front of them, blocking their path to the prey. "This is not your business, human," the leader said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "Walk away, this does not concern you." Han Sol stayed where he was. "The women are with me. That makes it my business. There are 5 of us. One of you. I can count. You think you can fight 5 Kravik alone?" Hansel tilted his head slightly. It was a predator's gesture, unconscious and natural. The Kravik leader flinched. "I do not want to fight anyone," Hansel said. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "I want to walk these women home safely. Then I want to go back to my room and sleep. That is all. But if you try to hurt them, if you try to take from them, if you even look at them wrong," he paused, "then yes, I will fight 5 Kravik alone." The corridor was completely silent. The Kravik were calculating. They knew they could probably beat one human. Probably, maybe, but humans did not fight fair. Humans did not stop when they were hurt. Humans kept coming and coming until either they won or they died. And even if the Kravik won, they would pay a price. Humans were like poison. You might kill one, but they would make you bleed for it. Was a simple necklace worth that risk? The leader made his decision. He stepped back, clearing a path through the junction. "We were just passing through," he muttered. "No need for trouble." His companions followed, pressing themselves against the walls to give the group room. They would not look at Han Sol. They would not look at the Valerie women. They just wanted this to be over. Han Sol walked forward. The women followed, clustered close together. As they passed the Kravik, Mika kept her eyes straight ahead. Her hand was still on her necklace, but she was not trembling anymore. They were through the junction and moving down the next corridor before anyone spoke. "That was amazing," Nira breathed. "You did not even say anything threatening. You just stood there and they ran away." "I did not need to say anything," Hansel said. "They already knew." "Knew what?" "That I was not bluffing. That I would fight them. That I would not stop fighting until they left, or I could not stand anymore." He shrugged. "Humans have a reputation. Sometimes the reputation is enough." Elder Vona made a sound that was definitely a laugh this time. "The most dangerous weapon a human carries," she said, "is not in their hands. It is in the minds of everyone who has heard the stories about them." They continued walking. The rest of the journey was uneventful. The Kravik did not follow. Other aliens in the corridors stepped aside when they saw Hansel, which made the trip faster than usual. Finally, they reached the transport hub that would take everyone to their homes. The women gathered around Han's soul, their faces a mixture of gratitude and wonder. "Thank you," Lyra said, "for everything, for coming tonight, for protecting us, for being you." "It was nothing," Han's soul said. "It was not nothing." Elder Vona stepped forward and took his hands in hers. Her skin was cool and soft, like polished metal. "What you did tonight, young man, will not be forgotten. You have shown my family that the galaxy is not as dark as we feared, that there are good people out there who will stand for what is right." Hansol felt embarrassed by the attention. "I really did not do much. I just walked you home. You stood between us and danger. That is not nothing. That is everything." The old woman squeezed his hands. "You are welcome in our home any time, Park Hansol. You are family now. Family." The word hit Han's soul harder than he expected. He had been so far from home for so long. He had not realized how much he missed having people who cared about him. "Thank you," he said. His voice was thick. "That means more than you know." The women said their goodbyes. Nira hugged him, which surprised them both. Tira and Sela shook his hand formally and promised to share their research with him. Mika smiled at him again, brighter than before. Lyra was the last to go. She stood in front of him, searching his face for something. "Will you come back?" she asked. "For dinner again? My family would love to have you." "I would like that very much." "Good," she smiled. "I will send you a message tomorrow. Nira wants to ask you about something called spicy food. She is very excited about it." Hansol laughed. "Tell her I will bring some. She might regret asking." They parted ways. Hansol walked back to his room alone, but he did not feel lonely. The corridors were the same as always. The station was the same as always. But something had changed inside him. He had come to Omega 7 to work, to earn money, to survive. He had never expected to find a place where he belonged. He had never expected to find people who saw him as more than a monster. When he reached his room, his tablet buzzed. A message from Lyra. "My family wants to invite you for dinner again. Nira is already preparing questions about something called spicy food. Please come. And thank you again, Han Sol, for showing us that the scariest thing in the galaxy can also be the kindest." Han Sol sat on his bed and read the message 3 times. Then he laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. He thought about his mother back on Earth, about how proud she would be if she could see him now, about how she always said that the measure of a person was not in what they could do, but in what they chose to do. Tonight, Han Sol had chosen to be kind. He had chosen to protect. He had chosen to be the person his mother raised him to be. And because of that choice, he was no longer alone. He typed a reply to Lyra. "I would be honored to come and tell Nira to prepare herself. Humans take spicy food very seriously. It might be the most dangerous thing she encounters all week." He put down his tablet and looked out his small window at the stars. The universe was huge and dark and full of creatures who would hurt you if they could. But it was also full of light, full of kindness, full of people who would stand together against the darkness. Hansel smiled. Maybe this station was not so bad after all. Maybe with the right people beside him, anywhere could feel like home. He closed his eyes and for the first time in 2 years, slept peacefully.